He may come on, he may come on.
Problem here. Intel tells us we're dealing with one guy. We think we got a fucking fire team out there.
My guy in D.C. tells me that we are not dealing with the student here, we're dealing with the professor. Anytime the military has an operation that can't fail, they call this guy in to train the troops, okay? He's the kind of guy that would drink a gallon of gasoline so he could piss in your campfire. You could drop this guy off at the Arctic Circle wearing a pair of bikini underwear without his toothbrush, and tomorrow afternoon he's going to show up at your poolside with $1 million smile and a fistful of pesos. This guy's a professional, you got me? If he reaches this rig, we're all going to be nothing but a big goddamn hole right in the middle of Alaska. So let's go find him and kill him and get rid of this son of a bitch.
Hey, how's y'all doing? This is Mr. Blows Your Mind, coming with another thought-provoking topic, and today's topic is the Christopher Dorner's manifesto in full. The contents are graphic and disturbing, but it is the truth, y'all. Here's a brother that's trying to relay something to us we always knew, but we actually have a brother that's within inside the department, and he's trying to tell something. He knows he's not going to live to see this or to see his name cleared, but he's leaving something. And for a lot of y'all who are not paying attention, I'm about to bring the manifesto to you live and direct. Sit back and relax. It's a little lengthy, but listen to what this brother is talking about. And it starts like this. This post was dated at 11:49 a.m. to reflect the entirety of the manifesto. Police this morning have launched a massive manhunt for Christopher Dorner, who is believed to have fatally shot a couple in Irvine earlier this week and a police officer this morning. Prior to the shootings, Dorner composed a manifesto detailing who he planned to kill and why. Here it is in full. All names have been redacted. From Christopher Jordan Dorner, 7-star number 7648 to America. Subject, last resort. Regarding case number CF number 07-004-281. I know most of you who personally know me are in disbelief to hear from media reports that I'm suspect of committing such horrendous murders and have taken drastic and shocking actions in the last couple of days. You are saying to yourself that this is completely out of character of a man you knew who always wore a smile whenever he was seen. I know I will be vilified by the LAPD and the media. Unfortunately, this is a necessary evil that I do not enjoy, but must partake and complete for substantial change to occur within the LAPD. And reclaim the department has not changed since the Rampart and Rodney King days. It has gotten worse. The consent decree should never have been lifted. The only thing that has evolved from the consent decree is those officers involved in the Rampart scandal and Rodney King incident have since promoted to supervisors, commanders, command staff, and executive positions. The question is, what would you do to clear your name? Name, the meaning, A word or set of words by which a person, animal, place, or thing is known, addressed, or referred to. Name synonyms. Reputation, title, appellation, denomination, repute. A name is more than just a noun, verb, or adjective. It is your life, your legacy, your journey, sacrifice, and everything you worked hard for every day of your life as an adolescent, young adult, and adult. Don't let anybody tarnish it when you know you lived up to your own set of ethics and personal ethos. In August of 2007, I reported an officer, now a sergeant, for kicking a suspect, which is excessive force. During a use of force while I was assigned as a patrol officer at LAPD's Harbor Division. While cuffing the suspect, the officer kicked the suspect twice in the chest and once in the face. The kick to the face left a visible injury on the left cheek below the eye. Unfortunately, after reporting it to supervisor and investigated by the PSB, which is the Internal Affairs Investigative Department, nothing was done. I had broken, suppose, the blue line. Unfortunately, it is not just us. It's justice. In fact, 10 months later, on June 25th of 2008, after already successfully completing probation, acquiring a basic post certificate and intermediate post certificate, I was relieved of duty by the LAPD while assigned to patrol at Southwest Division. It is clear as day that the department retaliated towards me for reporting the officer for kicking Mr. The department stated that I had lied and made up the report that the officer had kicked the suspect. I later went to the Board of Rights, the department hearing the decisions of continued employment from October 2008 to January of 2009. During this BOR hearing, a video was played from the BOR panel where they stated that he was indeed kicked by an officer. The video was sent to multiple news agencies. In addition to the officer stating the suspect was stated he was kicked, his father also stated that his son had stated he was kicked by an officer when he was arrested after being released from custody. This was all present from the department at the BOR hearing. They still found me guilty and terminated me. What they didn't mention was that the BOR panel made up of captain, and city attorney had a significant problem from the time the board was assembled. Captain was a personal friend of from when he was his supervisor at Harbor Station. That is a clear conflict of interest, and I made my argument for his removal early and was denied. The advocate for the LAPD BOR was Sergeant, also had a conflict of interest as she was friend and former partner from Harbor Division where they both worked patrol together. I made my arguments for her removal when I discovered her relationship to him, and it was denied. During the BOR, the department attempted to label me unsuccessfully as a bully. They stated that I had bullied a recruit in the academy when it, in reality, an unfounded disposition for the official January 28 or 128 formal complaint investigation found that I was the one who stood up for when the other recruits sang Nazi Hitler youth songs about burning Jewish ghettos in World War II Germany, where his father was a survivor of a concentration camp. How fucking dare you attempt to label me with such a nasty, vile word? I ask that all earnest journalists investigating this story ask officer about the incident when officer began singing a Nazi youth song about burning Jewish ghettos. The internal fair investigation in the academy involving was spurred by a complaint that I had initiated towards two fellow recruit officers. While assigned patrol foot beat in Hollywood Division, officer and officer, both current LAPD officers, decided that they would voice their personal feelings about the black community. While traveling back to the station in a 12-passenger van, I heard one officer refer to another individual as a nigger. I wasn't sure if I heard correctly, as there were many conversations in the van that was compiled of at least 8 officers, and he was sitting in the very rear and me in the very front. Even with the multiple conversations and ambient noise, I heard officer call an individual a nigger again. Now that I had confirmed it, I told the officer not to use that word again. I explained that it was a well-known offensive word that should not be used by anyone. He replied, I'll say it when I want. The officer, a friend of his, also stated that he would say nigger when he wanted. At that point, I jumped over my front passenger seat and told the two officers where I placed my hands around, neck and squeezed, I stated, don't fucking say that. At that point, there was pushing and shoving, and we were separated by several other officers. What I should have done was to put my Winchester Ranger SXT 9mm 147 grain bullet in his skull and officer's skull. The situation would have been resolved effective immediately. The sad thing about this incident was that when detective from Internal Affairs investigated the incident, only one officer, unknown in the van other than myself, has stated consistent with what actually happened. The other 6 officers all stated they heard nothing and saw nothing. Shame on every one of you. Shame on detective, the same ethnicity, for creating a separate 128 formal complaint against me. In retaliation for initiating the complaint against the 2 officers. Don't retaliate against honest officers for breaking your so-called blue line. I hope your son, who I knew, is a better officer than you, detective. The saddest part of this ordeal was that officer and the other were only given 22 days suspension and are still LAPD officers to this day. That day, the LAPD stated that it is acceptable for fellow officers to call black officers niggers to their face, and you will receive a slap on the wrist. Even sadder is that during the 22-day suspension, the 2 officers received is that the LAPPL, Los Angeles Police Protective League, paid the officers their salary while they were suspended. When I took a 2-day suspension for an accidental discharge, I took my suspension and never applied for a league salary. It's called integrity. Journalists, I want you to investigate every location I reside in growing up. Find any incident where I was ever accused of being a bully. You won't, because it doesn't exist. It's not in my DNA, never was. I was the only black kid in each of my elementary school classes for the 1st grade to the 7th grade and junior high, and in any incidents where I was disciplined for fighting was in response to fellow students provoking common childhood schoolyard fights or calling me a nigger or other derogatory racial names. I grew up in the neighborhoods where blacks make up at least 1%, less than 1%. My first recollection of racism was in the 1st grade at Norwalk Christian Elementary School in Norwalk, California. A fellow student, if I can recall, called me a nigger on the playground. My response was swift and non-lethal. I struck him fast and hard with a punch and a kick. He cried and reported to the teacher. The teacher reported to the principal. The principal swatted me for using the derogatory words towards me. He then, for some unknown reason, swatted me for striking in response to calling him or calling me a nigger. He stated, as good Christians, we ought to turn the other cheek as Jesus did. Problem is, I'm not a fucking Christian. And that old book, made of fictions and limited non-fictions, called the Bible, never once stated Jesus was called a nigger. How dare you swat me for standing up for my rights, for demanding that I be treated as an equal human being. That day, I made a life decision that I will not tolerate racial derogatory terms spoken to me. Unfortunately, I was swatted multiple times for the same exact reason up until junior high. Terminating me for telling the truth of a Caucasian officer kicking a mentally ill man is disgusting. Don't ever call me a fucking bully. I want all journalists to utilize every source you have that specializes in collecting for your report. With the discovery and evidence available, you will see the truth. Unfortunately, I will not be alive to see my name cleared. That's what this is about. My name. A man is nothing without his name. Below is a list of locations where I resided from childhood to adulthood. Cerritos, California, Pico Riviera, California, La Palma, California, Thousand Oaks, California, Cedar City, Utah, Pensacola, Florida, Enid, Oklahoma, Yorba Linda, California, Los Angeles, Nevada. During the BOR, an officer named Sergeant from Los Angeles Port Police testified on behalf of the LAPD, stated for the BOR that he arrived at a location of the UOF shortly before I cuffed the suspect. He also stated that he assisted in cuffing the suspect and that's the BOR he told me to fix my tie. All of those statements were lies. You arrived at the UOF location up to 30 seconds after I had cuffed Mr. All you did was help me lift the suspect to his feet as it was difficult for me to do by myself because of his heavy weight. You did not tell me to fix my tie, as the BOR members and everyone else in the room know. You lied because the photographic evidence from the UOF scene were showing injuries were not photographed clearly shows me wearing a Class B uniform on that day. A Class B uniform is a short-sleeve uniform blouse. A short-sleeve uniform blouse for the LAPD does not have a tie included. This is not Super Trooper uniform, you jackass. Why did you feel the need to embellish and lie about your involvement in the UOF? Are you ashamed that you could not get hired on by any other department other than that Port Police? Do you have delusions of grandeur? What you did was perjury. Exactly what did you state? What did she state she did not kick? What they failed to mention in the BOR was own use of force history during her career on the LAPD. She has admitted that she has a lengthy use of force records and has been flagged several times by risk management. She has a very well-known nickname, Chupacabra, which she was very proud to flaunt around the division. She found it very funny and entertaining to draw blood from suspects and arrestees. At one point, she even intentionally ripped the flesh off the arm of a woman we had arrested for battery, sprayed her neighbor with a garden water hose, knowing the woman had thin, elastic skin. She performed an Indian burn to the woman's arm after cuffing her. That woman was in her mid-70s, a mother, a grandmother, and was very angry at her tenants who failed to pay rent on time. Something I can completely understand, and I am sure many have wanted to do towards tenants who do not pay their rent. Was also demoted from a senior lead officer rank position for performance issues. During my 2 months of working patrol with, I found her as a woman who was very angry that she had been pulled from patrol for a short time because of a domestic violence report made by Long Beach Police Department because of an incident involving her active LAPD officer boyfriend and herself. Is the same officer investigated for witnessing tampering. She also was visibly angry on a daily basis that she was going to have to file for bankruptcy because her ex-husband, a former LAPD officer and not who had left the department, state and was nowhere to be found, had left her with a tax bill and debt that she was unable to pay because of a lack of financial means. You are a POS and you lied right to the BOR's panel when asked you if you kicked. You destroyed my life and name because of your actions. Time is up. The time is now to confess to. I ask that all journalists investigating this story submit requests for FOIA with the LAPD to gain access to the BOR transcripts, which occurred from October of 2008 to February 2009. There, you will see that a video was played for the BOR members of Mr. who suffered from schizophrenia and dementia, stating that he was kicked by a female officer. That video evidence supports my claim that kicked him twice in the upper body and once in the face. I would like a journalist to also request copies of all reports that I have written while employed by LAPD. Whether in academy or during my 3 years as a police officer, there are DRs numbers attached to each report, investigative reports, that I have ever written, so they all exist. A FOIA request will most likely be needed to access these as at Parker Center or at the personal records. Judge my writing grammar skills for yourself. The department attempted to paint me as an officer who could not write reports, even though Sergeant, a training officer who trained me, stated for the BOR panel that there was nothing wrong with my report writing and that I was better than all rookie probationers officers who had ever trained. Officer stated that the same but refused to testify as he did not want to get involved with the BOR's contact sergeant, now a captain at Lompoc PD. Sergeant and sergeant all will state that my report writing was impeccable. I will tell you this. I always type my reports because I have messy handwriting penmanship. I never had a single kickback red line report at Southwest Division, and sergeant can testify to that. I never received an unsatisfactory on any day or week. The same can be said within the U.S. Naval Reserves. All commanders will state that my reports writing was always clear, concise, and impeccable. Even search my AAR, after action reports, CHITs, memorandums, IIRs, intelligent information reports, which were written in Navy, all were pristine. I had worked patrol at LAPD's Harbor Division from February 2006 to July of 2006. When I was involuntarily called back to active duty, the United States Navy, for a 12-month mobilization deployment to CENTCOM in support of OEF, I returned back to LAPD's Harbor Division on July 2007 and immediately returned to patrol. I worked at Harbor Division until November of 2007, while I then transferred to Southwest Division. I worked at Southwest Division until June 25th of 2008, when I was relieved of duty. I have exhausted all available means at obtaining my name back. I have attempted all legal court efforts within appeals at the Superior Court and California Appellate Courts. This is my last resort. The LAPD has suppressed the truth, and it has now led to deadly consequences. The LAPD actions have cost me my law enforcement career that began on February 7th of 2005 and ended on January 2nd, 2009. They cost me my naval career, which started on April of 2002 and ends on February of 2013. I had a TS SCI clearance, top secret sensitive compartmentalized information clearance, up until shortly after my termination with the LAPD. This is the highest clearance a service member can attain other than a Yankee White TS SCI, which is only granted for those working with and around the President and Vice President of the United States. I lost my position as a commanding officer of a Naval Security Force Reserve unit at NAS, failing because of the LAPD. I lost a relationship with my mother and sister because of the LAPD. I lost a relationship with my close friends because of the LAPD. In essence, I lost everything because the LAPD took my name and knew I was innocent. All knew I was innocent, but decided to terminate me so they could continue. Officer Blank, I know about the meeting between all of you were between attorney and confessed that she kicked excessive force. Your day has come. I'm not an aspiring rapper. I'm not an aspiring rapper. I'm not a gang member. I'm not a dope dealer. I don't have multiple baby mamas. I am an American by choice. I am a son. I am a brother. I am a military service member. I am a man who has lost complete faith in the system. When the system betrayed, slandered, and libeled me, I live a good life, and though not a religious man, I always stuck to my own personal code of ethics, ethos, and always stuck to my shoreline and true north. I didn't need the U.S. Navy to instill honor, courage, and commitment in me, but I thank them for reinforcing it. It's in my DNA. Luckily, I don't have to live every day like most of you. concerned if the misconduct you were a part of is going to be discovered, looking over your shoulder, scurrying at every phone call for internal affairs or from the captain's office, wondering if that is the day the PS comes after you for the suspect you struck when they were, or that $500 you pocket from the narcotics dealer, or when the other guy on your watch beat a transient nearly to death and you never reported the UOF to the supervisor. No, I don't have that concern. I stood up for what was right, but unfortunately have dealt with the repercussions of doing the right thing and not losing my name and everything I've ever stood for. You fuckers knew was guilty of kicking excessive force, and you did nothing to get rid of what you saw as the problem. The whistleblower himself stated on videotape provided for the BOR and in transit. He was kicked, and even his father stated that his son said he was kicked by when he was released from custody. The video was played for the entire BOR to rehear. You're going to see what a whistleblower can do when you take everything from him, especially his name. Look what you did to Sergeant, now Lieutenant, when he exposed the truth of your lying, racism, and PSB cover-up to frame and convict an innocent man. You cannot police yourselves, and the consent decree was unsuccessful. Sergeant, I met you on the range several times as a recruit, and as an officer, you're a good man, and I saw it in your eyes in action. Self-preservation is no longer important to me. I do not fear death, as I died long ago on January 2nd of 2009. I was told by my mother that sometimes bad things happen to good people. I refuse to accept that. From February 2005 to January 2009, I saw some of the most vile things humans can inflict on others as police officers in Los Angeles. Unfortunately, it wasn't in the streets of LA. It was in the confines of the LA police station and shops, the cruisers. The enemy combatant in LA are not the citizens and suspects, it's the police officers. People who live in glass houses should not throw stones. How ironic that you utilize a fixed glass structure you use as a luminous building to symbolize that you are transparent, have nothing to hide or suppress, when in essence concealing, omitting, and obscuring is your fort. This is when you need to have that come to Jesus talk with Sergeant and everyone else who was involved in the conspiracy to have me terminated for doing the right thing. You also need to speak with her attorney and his conversation with the BOR members and her confession of guilt in kicking Mr. I'll be waiting for a public response at the press conference. When the truth comes out, the killing stops. Why didn't you charge me with filing a false police report when I came forward stating that kick Mr. You filed criminal charges against every other officer who was accused and terminated for filing a false police report. You didn't because you knew I was innocent, and a criminal court would find me innocent and expose your department for suppressing the truth and retaliation. That's why. The attacks will stop when the department states the truth about my innocence. Publicly. I will not accept any type of currency, goods in exchange for the attack to stop. Nor do I want my name back, period. There is no negotiation. I am not the State Department who states that they do not negotiate with terrorists, because anybody with a secret or TS, SCI has seen IRRs or on SIPRs and knows that the U.S. State Department always negotiates by using CF countries or independent, sovereign, neutral countries to mediate in compromising. This department has not changed from the days. Those officers are still employed and have all promoted to command staff and supervisory positions. I will correct this error. Are you aware that an officer, a rookie probation at the time, seen on the Rodney King video striking Mr. King multiple times with a baton on 3/3/91 is still employed by the LAPD and is now a captain on the police department? Captain is now the commanding officer of a LAPD police station, West LA Division. As a commanding officer, he is now responsible for over 200 officers. Do you trust him to enforce department policy and investigate use of force investigations on arrestees by his officers? Are you aware? Has since promoted to sergeant after kicking Mr. in the face? Oh, you violated a citizen's civil right. We will promote you. Oh, we will promote you. Same as LAPD did the officer from Metro involved in the May Day melees at MacArthur Park. They promoted them to sergeant, a supervisor role. No one is saying you can't be prejudiced or a bigot. We are all human and hold prejudices. If you state that you don't have prejudice, you're lying. But when you act on it and victimize innocent citizens and fellow innocent officers, then that is a concern. For you officers who do the job in the name of justice, those of you who lost honest officers to this event, look at the names of those of the BOR and investigating officers from PSB and ask them, how come you couldn't tell the truth? Why did you terminate an honest officer and cover for a dishonest officer who victimized a mentally ill citizen? Sometimes humans feel they need to prove they are the dominant race of a species, and they inadvertently take kindness for weakness for another individual. You choose wrong. Terminating officers because they expose a culture of lying, racism from the academy, and excessive use of force will immediately change. PSB cannot police their own, and that has been proven. The blue line will forever be severed, and a culture change will be implemented. You have awoken a sleeping giant. I am here to change and make policies. The culture of LAPD versus the community and the honest, good officers need to and will change. I am here to correct and calibrate your moral compasses to true north. Those Caucasian officers who have joined South Bureau divisions at 77 Southwest, Southeast, and Harbor with the sole intent to victimize minorities who are uneducated and unaware of criminal laws, civil law, civil rights. You prefer the South Bureau because of use of force, deadly force is likely, and the individuals you use of UOF on will likely not report it. You are a high-value target. Those black officers in supervisory ranks and pay grades who stay at South Bureaus, even though you live in the Valley or OC, for the sole intent of getting retribution towards subordinate Caucasian officers for the pain and hostile work environment their elders inflict on you as probationers, P1s, and novice, P2. You are a high-value target. You perpetuate the cycle of racism in the department as well. You breed a new generation of bigoted Caucasian officers when you belittle them and treat them unfairly. Those Hispanic officers who victimize their own ethnicity because they are new immigrants to this country and are unaware of their civil rights, you call them wetbacks to their face and demean them in the front of their fellow officers of different ethnicities so that you will receive some sort of acceptance from your colleagues. I'm not impressed. Most likely your parents or grandparents were immigrants at one time, but you have forgotten that. You are a high-value target. Those lesbian officers in supervisor position who go to work day in, day out with the sole intent of attempting to prove your misandrous authority, not feminism, to degrade male officers, you are a high-value target. Those Asian officers who stand by and observe everything I previously mentioned other officers participating in on a daily basis, but you say nothing, stand for nothing, protect nothing. Why? Because of your usual saying, I don't like conflict. You are a high-value target as well. Those of you who go along to get along have no backbone to destroy the foundation of courage. You are all the enablers of those who are guilty of misconduct. You are just as guilty as those who break the code of ethics and oath you swore. Citizens and non-combatants do not render medical aid to downed officers, enemy combatants. They would not do the same for you. They will let you bleed out just so that they can brag to the officers that they had a 187 caper the other day and can't wait to accrue the overtime in future court subpoenas. As they always say, that's the paramedic's job, not mine. Let the balance of loss of life take place. Sometimes a reset needs to occur. It is endless the amount of times per week officers arrest individuals, label him a suspect, arrestee, defendant, and then before arraignment or a trial realize that he is innocent based on evidence. You know what they say when they realize an innocent man just had his life turned upside down? I guess he shouldn't have stayed at home that day. He was discovered walking down the street matching the suspect description. Oh well, he appeared to be a dirtbag anyways. Meanwhile, the falsely accused is left to pick up his life, get a new family, friends, and a sense of self-worth. Don't honor these fallen officers, dirtbags. When your family members die, they just see you as an extra overtime at the crime scene at a perimeter. Why would you value their lives when they clearly don't value yours or your family? Remember lives. I've heard many officers who state that they see dead victims as ATVs, waiver runners, RVs, and new clothes for their kids. Why would you shed a tear for them when they in return crack a smile for your loss because of the impending extra money they will receive in their next paycheck for sitting at your loved one's crime scene of 6 hours because of the overtime they will accrue? They take photos of your loved one's recently deceased bodies with their cell phones and play a game of who has the most graphic dead bodies of the night with officers from other divisions. This isn't just 20-something-year-old officer. This is a 50-year-old officer with significant time on the job as well who participates. You allow an officer to attempt to hack into my credit union account and still remain of the job even when the detective shows the evidence that the IP address provided by LAPFCU that attempt to hack into my account and change my user and pass leads directly to her residence. You even allow this visible, disgusting looking officer to stay on the job when she perjures lies in court. Clark County Family Court to judge face and denies hacking into my personal credit union online account when I attempted to get restraint orders extended. Provide the evidence and you will still do nothing. How do you know when a police officer is lying? When he begins his sentence with, based on my experience and training. No one grows up and wants to be a cop killer. It wasn't against everything I've ever was. As a young police explorer, I found my calling in life. But as a young police officer, I found that the violent suspects on the streets are not the only people you have to watch. It is the officers who was hired on the department. Before polygraphs was standard for all new hirees and a substantial vetting and a background investigation. To those children of the officers who are eradicated, your parents was not the individual you thought they were. As you get older, you will see the evidence that your parents was a tyrant who lost their ethos and instead followed the path of moral corruptness. They compromised to hide, or they conspired to hide and suppress the truth of misconduct on others' behalf. Your parents will have a name and plaque on the fallen officers' memorial in D.C., but in all honesty, your parents' names will be remembered to other officers who remain the oath and they swore to stay along the shoreline that has guided them from childhood to that of a local, state, or federal law enforcement officer. Your lack of ethics in conspiring to right or to wrong a just individual are over. Suppressing the truth will lead to deadly consequences for you and your family. There will be an element of surprise where you work, live, eat, and sleep. I will utilize ISR at your home, workplace, and all locations in between. I will utilize OSINT to discover your residence, spouses, workplaces, and children's school. IMINT to coordinate and plan attacks on your fixed location. It's amazing what on the NIPR, the HUMINT will be utilized to collect personal schedules of targets. I never had the opportunity to have a family of my own. I'm terminating yours. And BOR members, look your wives, husband, and surviving children directly in the face and tell them the truth as to why your children are dead. Never allow a LAPPL union attorney to be retired. LAPD captain, he doesn't work for you, your interests, or your name. He works for the department, period. His job is to protect the department from civil lawsuits being filed and their best interest, which is the almighty dollar. His loyalty is to the department, not his clients. even when he knowingly knows you're innocent, and the BOR also knows you're innocent also. After states on videotape that he was kicked in, the attorney confessed to the BOR off the record that she kicked. The three of liberties must be refreshed from the time and time with the blood of patriots and tyrants. TJ, this quote is not direct towards the U.S. government, which I fully support 100%. This is toward the LAPD, who cannot monitor itself. The consent decree should not have been lifted, ever. I know your TTP's technique, tactics, and procedures. Any threat assessment you generate will be useless. This is simple. I know your TTPs and PPRs. I will mitigate any of your attempts at preservation. ORM is my friend. I will mitigate all risks, threats, and hazards. I assure you that incident command posts will be target such environments. KMA 367 license plates frames are great targets, indicators, and make target selection even easier. I will conduct DA operation to destroy, exploit, and seize designated targets. If unsuccessful or unable to meet objectives in these initial small-scale offensive actions, I will reassess my BDA and reattack until objectives are met. I have nothing to lose. My personal casualty means nothing. Just alike AAFs, ACMs, and AIFs, you cannot prevail against an enemy combatant who has no fear of death. An enemy who embraces death is a loss, lose situation for their enemy's combatants. Hopefully, you analysts have done your homework. You are aware that I have always been the top shot, highest score, and expert in rifle qualification in every unit I've ever been. I will utilize every bit of small arms training, demolition orders, and survival training I've ever been given. Do you know why we are unsuccessful in asymmetrical and guerrilla warfare and CENTCOM? The years of operation? I'll tell you. It's not the inefficiency of our combatants, commanders, planning, readiness, or training of troops. Much like the Vietnam War, ACM, AAF, foreign fighters, jihadists, and jams have nothing to lose. They embrace death as it is a way of life. I simply don't fear it. I am walking extended circumstance you created. The violence of action will be high. I am the reason TAC alerts were established. I will bring unconventional and systematical warfare to those in the LAPD uniform, whether on or off duty. ISR is my strength and your weakness. You will now live the life of the prey. Your RDs and homes always away from home and work will be my AO in battle space. I will utilize every tool within INT collection that I learned from NMITC and damn Nick. You have misjudged a sleeping giant. There is no conventional threat assessment for me. Jam, New Bath Party, 1920, Rev BGE, ACM, AAF, AQAP, AQIM, and AQIZ have nothing on me. Do not deploy airships or gunships. SA-7 man pads will be waiting. As you know, I also own Barrett 50, so your APCs are defunct and futile. You better have all your officers radio, phone, mustered, code 1 on off duty every hour on the hour. Do not attempt to shadow or conduct any type of ISRs on me. I have the inventory listing of all UC vehicles at Piper Tech and the home addresses of any INT analysts at JRIC in detached locations. My POA is always POI and always true. This will be a war of attrition and Paris of comedian victory for myself. You may have the resources and manpower, but you are a reactive and predictable in your OPI plans and TTPs. I have the strength and the benefit of being unpredictable, unconventional, unforgiving. Do not waste your time with briefs and tabletops. Whatever pre-planned response you have established for a scenario like me, shelve it. Whatever contingency plan you have, shelve it. Whatever territory plan you created, shelve it. I am a walking extended circumstance with no off or reset button. JRIC, DOJ, LASD, FBI, and other local LE can assist and should not involve themselves in a matter that does not concern them. For all the agencies, do not involve yourself in this capture or recovery of me. Look at the big picture of the situation. They, LAPD, created the situation. I will harm no outside agency unless it is deadly force. IDOL situation. With today's budgeting and fiscal mess, you guys cannot afford to lose several officers to IOD or KIA, EOW. Plus, other officers should not have to take on an additional duty and responsibilities of dead officers. Think about their families outside of the agencies, chief directors. Outside agencies and individual officers on patrol. If you recognize my vehicle and confirm it is my vehicle through a DMV warrant check, it behooves you to respond to dispatch that your queries was for information purpose only. If you proceed with a traffic stop or attempt to notify other officers of my location or for backup, you will not live to see the Medal of Valor you were hoping to receive for your actions. Think before you attempt to intervene. You will not survive. Your family will receive the Medal of Valor posthumously. It will gather dust on the fireplace mantel for years. Then one day it will go in a shoebox with the other memories. Your mother will lose a son or a daughter. Your significant other will be left alone. But they will find someone else to fill your void in the future and make them just as happy. Your children, if you have them, will call someone else mommy or daddy. Don't be selfish. Your vest is only a level 2 or 3A. Think about it. No amount of IMINT, MSAINT, and ELINT assists you in capturing me. I am off the grid. You better use your feet, tongue, and every available DOD, non-DOD, HUMINT agency contracted to find me. I know your routes to and from home in your division. I know your significant other routines, your children's best friend and recess. I know your SACMA's gym hours and routine. I assure you that the casualty rate will be high. Because of that, no one will remember your name. You will merely be a DR number. And that guy who was KIA, EOW, or long-term IOD, light duty in the kit room, is exactly why Station 500 was created. Unfortunately, orphanages will be making a comeback in the 21st century. The violence of action will be high. I am the reason TAC alerts were established. I will bring unconventional and systemic warfare to those in the LAPD uniform, whether on or off duty. If you had a well-regulated AWB, this will not happen. This time, the time is now to reinstitute a ban that will save lives. Why does any sportsman need a 30-round magazine for hunting? Why does anyone need a suppressor? Why does anyone need an AR-15 rifle? This is the same small armed weapon system utilized in eradicating Al-Qaeda, Taliban, and every enemy combatant since the Vietnam War. Don't give me that crap that it's not a selective fire or full auto rifle like a DOD uses. That's bullshit, because troops who carry the M4, M16 weapon system for combat ops outside the wire rarely utilize the select fire function when in contact with enemy combatants. The use of select fire probably isn't 1% in combat. So in essence, the AR-15 semi-automatic rifle is the same as the M4, M16. These do not need to be purchased as easily as walking to your local Walmart or striking the enter key on your keyboard to add to cart. All the firearms utilized in my activities are registered to me and were legally purchased at gun stores, private party transfers. All concealable weapons, pistols, were also legally registered in my name at police stations or FSLs. Unfortunately, are you aware that I obtained Class 3 weapons, suppressors, without a background check through NICS or DROs completely legally several times? I was able to use a trust account that I created on the Quicken with maker and a $10 notary charge at a mailbox, etc., to obtain them legally. Granted, I am not a felon, nor have a DV misdemeanor conviction or active TRO against me on an NCIC file. I can buy any firearm I want, but should I be able to purchase these Class 3 weapons without a background check, just a $10 notary signature on a Quicken will make a program? This answer is no. I'm not a resident of the state. I purchased them in lock and load. Just wanted money so that they could allow you to purchase Class 3 weapons with just a notary trust. Military ID, shame on you. Lock and load. NIFA, ATF need new laws and policies that do not allow loopholes such as this. In the end, I hope that you realize that the small arms I utilize should not be accessed with the ease that I obtained them. Who in their right mind needs a fucking silencer? Who needs a freaking SBR AR-15? No one. No more Virginia Tech Combine High School, Wisconsin Temple, Aurora Theaters, Portland Malls, Tuscan Rally, Newtown Sandy Hook, whether by execution order or through bipartisan Congress, an assault weapon ban needs to be reinstituted, period. My Affair said it best. Gun control is no longer debatable. It's not a conversation. It's a moral mandate. Since Feinstein, you are doing the right thing and leading the reinstitution of the National AWB. Never again should any public official state that their prayers and thoughts are with the family. That has become cliche and meaningless. It's time for action. Let this be your legacy that you bestow to America. Do not be swayed by obstacles, antagonists, and naysayers. Remember the innocent children at Austin, Kent, Stockton, Fullerton, San Diego, Iowa City, Jonesboro, Columbine, Nickel Mine, Blackbird, Springfield, Red Lake, Chardon, Aurora, and Newtown. Make sure this never happens again. In my catchy, you will find several small arms in the catchy: Bushmaster firearm, Remington precision rifles, AAS suppressors. All of these small arms are manufactured by Cerberus Freedom Group, the same company responsible for Portland Mall shooting, Webster, New York, and Sandy Hook massacre. You disrespect the officers of the POTUS, President and Commander-in-Chief. You call him Kenyan mongrel, half-African, Muslim, FB Ho, when in essence you are to address him as simply President, the same as you did to President George W. Bush and all those in the highest ranking positions of your land before him, just as I also have. You question his birth certificate, his education, his professional accomplishment, and his judo Christian belief. You make disparaging remarks against his dead parents. You never question the fact that his former opponent, the horrible Senator John McCain, was not born in Congress, or that Bush had a C average in his undergrad. Electoral candidate Children Romney said that they want to punch the president in the face during the debates with no formal repercussion. No one even questioned the fact that the son just made a criminal threat towards the president. You call his wife a Wookiee. Off the record, I love your new bangs. Miss Obama, a woman whose professional educational accomplishments are second to none when compared to the recent first wives. You call his supporters, whether black, brown, yellow, or white, leeches, FSA, welfare recipients, nigger lovers. You say this opening without any discretion. Before you start with your argument that you believe I would vote for Obama because he has the same skin color as me, fuck you. I didn't vote in that last election as my choice of candidate. John Huntsman didn't win the primary candidate for his party. Mr. President, I haven't agreed with all of your decisions, but of course I haven't agreed with all your predecessors' decisions. I think you've done a hell of a job with what you have been dealt and how you have managed it. I shed a tear the night you were initially elected president in 2008. I never thought the day would occur. Black man elected president of the United States in my lifetime. I cracked a smile when you were re-elected in 2012 because I really didn't think you were going to pull that one off. Romney stopped being a sore loser. You could have exited gracefully and still contributed significantly to the public service. Not now, Mr. President. Get back to work. Many want to see you fail as they have stated so many times previously. Unfortunately, if you fail, the United States fail, but your opponents do not concern themselves about the big picture. Do not forget your commitment to transparency in your administration. Sometimes I believe your administration forgets that. America, you will realize today and tomorrow that this world is made up of all human beings who have the same general needs and wants in life for themselves, their kin, community, and state. This is the freedom to live and love. They may eat different foods, enjoy different music, have different dialects, or speak a second language. But in essence, are no different from you and I. This is America. We are not a perfect sovereign country, as we have our own flaws, but we are the closest that will ever exist. Unfortunately, this is not the first time an authoritative figure has lied on me. Assistant Principal, Cypress Hill High School, remember when you lied to my mother and the police officer in your office about stating that you never stated to me in private conversation that you know the theft suspect stole my watch? Let me refresh your memory. A physical education teacher assisted a student stole the list of combination codes to people's lockers from the PE teacher. That student then opened many of those lockers and stole student personal property. My watch was then taken in that multiple theft, and I reported to you. A week later, you discovered that the thief suspect was a student. You stated to me in private that you know for a fact he stole my property. When I attempted to retrieve my property from the suspect, campus security was called, and you lied and said that you never stated to me that you knew who stole the watch. You sat there and lied to him in the face right in front of me. He said it was such a deliberate, stern face. I never forgot that and was not surprised when 13 years later I was lied on again in the BOR by many. Maybe you can confess to your family at the very least in the private of your home after that. Contact my mother and apologize for lying to her in 1996. If possible, I want my brain preserved for science research to study the effects of severe depression on the individual's brain. Since June 26 of 2008, when I was relieved of duty, and January 2nd of 2009, when I was terminated, I had been afflicted with severe depression. I had 2 CT scans during my lifetime that are in my medical records at Kaiser Permanente. Both are from concussions resulting from playing football. The first one was in high school in 96. The second was in college and occurred in 99. Both were conducted at Kaiser Permanente Hospital in LA, Orange County. These CT scans should give a good baseline for my brain activity before several depressions began in late 2008. Sure, many of you law enforcement experts especially will state, in all my years, this is the worst. Stop. That's not important. Ask yourself, what would cause somebody to take these drastic measures like I did? That's what's important. To my friends listed below, I wish we could have grown old together, spent more time together. When you reminisce of our friendship experience, think of that and that only. Do not dwell on my recent actions the last few days. This was a necessary evil that had to be executed in order for me to obtain my name back. The only thing that changes policies and garner attention is death. Greatest friend, Marine officer, better fire husband I could have, a better big brother than you. Your spoken wisdom is always retained by me. Your old salty Mustang. You sternly told me that no matter what I accomplish, I will always be a nigger in many individual eyes. At that time, I did not comprehend your words. I do now. I never forget the quote you stated below. I love you, bro. I never saw a wild thing feel sorry for itself. A small bird will drop frozen dead from a bough without ever feeling sorry for itself. Hey, this is Mr. Blows Your Mind. I'm going to go ahead and try to break this down based on my interpretation of what I believe this brother is trying to relay here. And let's see if, based on our circumstances, our experiences over the years of our life, and let's see what the message that he might be trying to send to us. Because again, this brother ain't going to make it, y'all. Y'all know that. So anyway, he makes a manifesto. He's, based on what you just heard, he's saying this is his last resort, right? So when you get to your last resort, right, think about that. That's mean that you done tried everything. Meaning that you went through every protocol. You tried to make you try to analyze every scenario, and the only conclusion you could come to is where he's at this point in time. Now, am I agreeing to how he's doing it? I'm not in his shoes. You understand? For every individual, different circumstances have different results. And this is what he feels he needs to do. Now, based on what he's spewing out through this manifesto, he is, he has issues that have to do with, basically, my interpretation is, these are racial elements that he's been suppressing, and this is what a lot of us do. You understand what I'm saying? A lot of you deal with things on a day-to-day basis that end up building from day to day, that end up becoming a week, that end up becoming months, that becoming years, and you suppress this stuff. Because one thing that he did state, as he said, he always, when he was talking about his friends and how they would, know him, that he always kept a smile, right? So he was an individual from the exterior, you would see him in a light that would show that he didn't have any problems. That's what politically correct, in my eyes, is about. Having a front, pretending that, everything is okay. I remember my mother, she told me a story, and she was telling me that she was a nurse and she was working, and it was an older lady that she was, helping to take care of, and she would come in every day. They kind of greet each other. Was like, how you doing? And she would say, well, I'm fine. So, that had went on for a while. Then one day the woman was just like, when she said, fine, she said, everybody in America, everybody you ask them, how they doing? Everybody fine. Then the next day they dropped dead because they had been sick. Well, that's what politically correct does. That's when you being phony does. See, why people have hypertension, heart disease, and a lot of the chronic illnesses that affect a lot of people is for the simple fact that people cannot be real. People are scared that they're going to be classified certain things based on because you express what someone else may be doing to you. So this brother here, he feels like what he's about to do is going to make these necessary changes. Remember, he said in that manifesto, he said, a necessary evil to make change. A necessary evil. Meaning, he has to, based on this, cataclysm of events, right? He drew out when he was through his childhood, through as he got an adult and he became, and he's seeing all this stuff. Now, some of the stuff that he's talking about, for myself personally, his experiences are not, I believe, basically, if this is just a summary, I'm pretty sure it's a lot more lengthy. I actually cut that manifesto because it was really lengthy. I read it all, but I put it in here because I'm pretty sure a lot of y'all will fall asleep. So I cut it to the part that, because at the one particular part, it got to the part where he was talking about his friends and family and basically saying his goodbyes to them. Okay? And so here, what I may experience in my life that I will feel that would be, there are a lot more things that what he talked about, I can go into a lot more detail than what he did. But again, each individual deal with certain situations different, because this is what, if this is the magnitude that you had to deal with, and this is the only way you've dealt with it, this may be the maximum for you. I understand what I mean by that. So he's to the point that, remember, he says, this is about my name. And a lot of people, you may not understand what he means when he's talking about, this is my name. My name is, it's like your reputation, right? This is what your character is built on. This is what people think about you. And if people have a bad rapport on you when you're not deserving of it, and a lot of people try to, it's like bad credit. If you got bad credit, right, people work hard at trying to, rectify that credit so that it becomes a better credit score so that they're not discriminated against. So the same thing here is this brother said, look, through my hard work in my life, I had accumulated certain things. I went into the service. I built up a reputation there. I actually have a lot of accolades. I elevated myself to a certain prominent position. From that, I came in here with the ideology. I thought this was going to be the calling that I had in life. I felt like this is what I wanted to do. But a lot of the things that I experienced in my life are still being sought here. And here I am now adult. And I thought that it's like people who, when those people who are a little older, we can't say children because when you bred into something, that's just the way it is. But let's say somebody who was a little older and people convert you and get you to come into their church, right? And so you come into the church with an ideology thinking that everybody in the church is holy and sanctified. But as you spend more time in coming onto that church, you start to find some of the, the imperfections is what they call it, right? Is you start seeing some of the bad traits. You see that there's some gossiping going in there. You see that some of the people in there, you might see them and coming back from the clubs at night. You know what I'm saying? There's some homosexuality going in there. There's a whole lot of stuff, pastors sleeping with people and all, there's a whole, melancholy of shit in there, right? So it's the same thing with this. Is he got into the police department thinking that, okay, he felt like this was his call and he was going to be able to do this, and he gets in there, and remember he talked about the situation that he was sitting in the van, and here he is sitting there, and they're saying these epithets about nigger with him in his presence as like he ain't even there. And my analyst to this aspect is there's a lot of y'all who have friendship with individuals, and there's a lot of shit that be said that a lot of that shit you don't check. You understand what I'm saying? Because you want to go along to get along. As he talked about, them people who go along to get along, he said he's shooting their ass too. You know what I'm saying? He said, when he said high value, he mean I'm shooting your ass too. You high value target, meaning I see your ass, I'm shooting your ass too. So when those people who are like that, who go along, get along, you ain't no different than them other people who are actually doing it because you don't stand up to do what? You don't have any stance. Like you said, you had no backbone. So the necessary evil he done a sum total is he accumulated all that come back from his childhood to his adulthood, and he said, you know what? I took that shit then. I tried to get it redeemed, going through the proper chain of commands, through, as the procedure says, that, certain shit that when you in school, if you got a problem, you go to the teacher. If the teacher can't deal with it, you go to the principal. You understand? That's the protocols that you go through. And when those things fail, then it turns something inside of you to say, well, shit, I have to resolve this shit the best way I can do it. And so what he said is when he was in school, as a young boy, what happened? He got called nigga there. He said shit, but see how he say, but shit, I didn't let it marinate. I ain't sit there and let that shit simmer. I went over there, stuck that motherfucker in his mouth. After all that shit, he said stuck him in the mouth, kicked his ass in the head, on the stomach, or wherever the hell it was. He go run call to the teacher. They get down to the principal, and what happened? He gets swatted, right? He got swatted for it. Yet he didn't already had reported about it, but you know what I'm saying, the only way he could get this to stop was, look, I ain't taking it from you. Same thing when he was in the van. He was sitting in the damn van, and yet they was sitting in the background saying the shit they was saying. And what'd he do? He said, hold on, maybe my ears was tricking me the first time when I heard that, right? That's what he's like, well, maybe I didn't hear that stuff. But then he said it again. He turns around, he said, look, man, you shouldn't be saying that. And what the sorry ass motherfucker say? Like they always said, I done been in that situation too. Motherfucker said that same shit. Time I said 5 more times, that motherfucker had a poo stick in his throat. But anyway, so he said, the white cat says, he said, I said, and I say it again. He said, and then he says again, he said, look, man, I'm sitting here, you can't even respect the fact that I'm even sitting here. And so instead of them saying, look, dude, don't do that. That is kind of disrespectful that he's sitting in the van. No, another motherfucker jumps in like, I said too, motherfucker. Like, who the fuck is you? See, this is where a lot of people don't like to have this conversation, is because, see, this kind of talk here, people think you being racist because you are pointing out certain things, right? When you start talking like this, it's like, oh, you on that racial shit. No, truth is just what it is. You understand what I'm saying? That's just how life is, and this is what we deal with. So now you got somebody who was dealing with it, and now, again, as he said, you done woke a sleeping giant up, and I'm the wrong motherfucker to fuck with. This story gonna keep going on, you know that, right? So anyway, this necessary evil he's talking about is that how he's gonna have to rectify the situation, because it seemed like the same problem I've been having since I was little, the same problem I'm having now seem to be like the same ass people. He kept telling you, he said, look, it's in my DNA not to be like this. What is he saying? Can you read in between the lines what he's saying on that? It's not in my DNA to be this way. But his mama said something to him that he said, I just can't go with that shit. See, that's that Malcolm Martin aspect, right? And mama was like, well, sometimes in life, bad shit happen to good people. He said, I ain't down with that motherfucking program. Just like he said, I ain't no motherfucking Christian. You understand what I'm saying? When the motherfucking principal will tell him, well, next time what you do is turn the other cheek. He said, but I ain't no motherfucking Christian. I don't believe in that shit. And he said, matter of fact, he said it was shit. Was they calling Jesus a nigga when he said that shit? You feel what I'm saying? So, necessary evil. Is there such thing? Is there a such law that people can agree to, that there's a certain time when shit is? As a matter of fact, if you even take them scriptures and go to Ecclesiastes, I think I know it's in chapter 3 through verses 1 through 5, where it talks about there's a time for everything. See, there's a time to cry, there's a time to die, there's a time, there's a time for everything. And there's a time to get for an ass whooping, right? And there's a time when I done took enough of your shit. And see, some people just don't get it. Some people think that, they have this ideology in their mind that my people is the system, we are the government, we are the we are the power source, and if you do so much, my people come down and come on your ass like shit on stank, right? But you can fuck around and walk up on the wrong motherfucker. And that shit is just like, it's just like saying, you could call 911, right? You can call 911 when somebody done bust your ass up, but police coming after the fact. So you done got that ass whooping before they came, right? See, you rely on that thinking that that's going to be the all-be-all, and that's a deterrent. But sometimes that shit would just be like, when a person understand how this shit work, they say, I'm going to bust your ass and deal with the consequences afterwards. And that's what he's basically telling you in this manifesto, that what I'm about to do, based on how the fuck they played me, and they did me, made me lose my job. And not so much to the fact, I don't think he was about just losing his job with the LAPD. I think it had a lot to do with the simple fact that he said the timeline, he said that his duty as I don't know if he was a Marine, but whatever he was in the service, is expiring in February 13th, which is, from the time I'm making this, we got like maybe 48 hours left. So they like, well, damn, if you're going to stigmatize me with this, which is going to affect me over there, which means I have to be, I'm losing that too. Based on some shit that he was out and about, and they doing the routine I guess it was the way I'm interpreted is he was already at a scene that he had doing an arrest, and dude was kind of heavy. So after he had handcuffed him, dude that come on the scene after the fact is helping him to get up, and based on some transaction between that, dude in the review says, and it wasn't about the review about what he's really complaining about, but it was part of the complaint that he said that this dude said that something about a tie he didn't have on, and that he was the one that did the arrest and all this other shit that's making him feel like he's incompetent. But then the weight of the thing was about the fact that he was with somebody who was beating the shit out of somebody and kicking the shit out of them, and he reported the fact though that they was doing that shit. And what they did is they flipped the case and made it look like he was just making the shit up, and that was the reason for terminating him. Now, those who done worked at places and know that, when you working with people and people get fired for a lot of bullshit, especially when you got people who consider the system called whistleblowers, right? That means there's a protection when you supposedly tell about some shit that, that other people, like he said. Now, remember, he said something about let me say this real quick. We've always known that there was some kind of ethics amongst police officers, that when certain shit go down, that mum's the word, and then they collaborate together and they make that script. Now, he said that there's a blue line. It's called Blue Line. I even read a book back in the day called Blue Shield. Okay? Matter of fact, there's a case in Chicago where a bartender, a woman, was beat the shit out by a police officer, and in that particular case, it was brought out about this blue line, blue shield, code of silence amongst police officers. And this would be the precedent case that all people who have these issues with police could go into this case, right? They could use this case to say that, yes, these motherfuckers don't be saying shit, and they know, and the motherfucker was sitting right there and they ain't say nothing, right? So here this brother's trying to show you that here was the proceeding that they was having him. I think when he said BOR was the Board of Review, and he was standing there before him about the case that he had took based on the case when he reported about, I don't know if this was his partner or was somebody on the scene, but whoever it was he reported, they stacked the deck on him. That's why he was talking about, well, this person here had a relationship. They used to be partners. They went to the same academy. All that. He said this shit here has a conflict of interest. You know what I'm saying? That, those who understand, law a little bit, or, their conflict of interest, it didn't mean these motherfuckers have a relationship where, that decision can be, they can have a twist in their decision based on the simple fact that they have a relationship will be biased in my case towards me. So he tried to do it, but yet the system said they denied it, which, you request something like that, and if it can be found in it, then that's something that it should have been done. So let's just look at this whole scenario shit and understand what he was talking about, necessary evil. Now, on the news, they're saying that, people like myself who are reporting this, and for some people who are hearing this, they may say that I'm pro for what's being done here. I'm just relating the news as I'm getting it and trying to, bring it to attention to those people who are not paying attention to it. Now, how you take it for what I'm saying, that's how you take it. I am not in your head. I can't, make you believe what I want you to believe. You have to interpret for what you taking it for, how I'm saying it, right? I know what I mean when I'm saying it, but it's how you're taking it when you hear me when I'm saying it. All right? So, for us who've gone through a lot of that scenario, we understand how that goes. But see, when you on the other side of that and you're trying to be the, protector of your people, trying to do what's right, and you are inhabited amongst, a bunch of, let's say, devil ass people. And how can this rose bud amongst these weeds? So they got to cut the damn rose down, right? You ain't gonna kill all the weeds out. You're gonna have to get rid of the rose. And this is what his problem is. He's saying, here I am, a good officer. I do my motherfucking job. And here's motherfuckers that done did shit. He said, I'm gonna give you an example. He said, the Rodney King case. He said, you remember them motherfuckers that was on there? He said, there was a rookie that was in there that was beating the shit out of Rodney too. And guess what? That motherfucker is now a motherfucking captain. The other motherfuckers are promoted into other supervisor positions. And he talked about other shit that was going on. He was talking about, what was the name of the other one? Something about the Rampart. He was saying something about the Rampart. He said the motherfucker that was involved in that shit too, all of them been, promoted to higher positions. And like, how the fuck does motherfuckers with that kind of bad rapport, and it is known that these motherfuckers do that shit, and how they get into those positions? You see what I'm saying? It's like, how's that even possible? So anyway, he says, based on what happened with the Rodney King and the Rampart situation, he said, this shit in LA done got worse. He says, worse than what it is. He said, now, what do you mean by worse is, he said, now, you don't get to see the shit on the street anymore because, you know why? Because everybody got cameras now. You understand? Everybody is photographing and taking video when the minute they see, some shit going down. So you don't want to have that shit taped. So what he says is, when you see motherfuckers in the squad cars and them vans and getting back into that police station, he said, they whooping their ass. He said, you know what I'm saying? They showing out in there. Then he gave you an example of, there was a woman that he said they called her Chupacabra. You know what I'm saying? You know what a Chupacabra is? That's a goat sucker, right? That's like it's like somebody who, it was supposedly some animal that was supposed to be in Americas or Mexico or something like that, that was eating other little animals, and said it was about eating the blood and shit, you know what I'm saying? Going after the blood, right? Sucking the blood. So she, according to what he said she was, was proud that they were calling her that. You know what I'm saying? That's not really, when you look at, if you look up that word, and the word is spelled Chupacabra, right? And when you look at it, define that word, you'll see that that ain't something that you would be proud of, unless that's the kind of, character you are. And he gave you an example when he said that it was a 70-year-old woman that they had arrested, and the woman was kind of frail and brittle, and she already had hosed the shit out of her with the hose, and then she went over there because she had thin skin. He ripped the motherfucking skin off her. You know what I'm saying? And you know what I'm saying? And she just was that kind of, that kind of shit. But she denied the fact that she had been kicked the shit out of somebody, which that's what really got him into this whole predicament. So what ended up happening was, the people on the board sat there, collaborated with the story. He said that the lawyer knew that they were lying. He told them that they told her that she had did it, that he didn't make up the incident. But the thing was, they still want to get you out. And that's what a lot of times be happening. So a lot of times good people end up in jail. We got many stories where brothers go to jail 16, 20 years, and then come to find out they did the damn crime. And what you're going to do is you're going to pay me money, and yes, I done had to do 16 years of some bullshit, and that's supposed to be equivalent, that's supposed to be right. How many stories do you see with white motherfuckers in there like that? Let's just be honest about the shit. You don't see that shit. You don't see no white motherfucker going to jail 16, 20 years talking about they wrongfully convicted him. You don't see that shit. So let's be real about that. So here's this whole tabulation of shit, right? Of this necessary evil he feel like he's gonna have to justify. He got into it within the van. They called him nigga there. This is like a volcano. This is shit that underneath, and a lot of shit that just keep piling up and building up, and then what's gonna happen? Pop goes the weasel. Pop goes the weasel. And so now, after that, he goes and he says, I'm going to kill you. It's like on White Man Can't Jump. You remember that cat Raymond? Remember when Wesley Snipes went to the park, right? And he had told Woody Harrelson, go sit over, they went there. That's when he had, I think they had what's her name with what's her name? She talked funny. Lisa Lopez. I think her name is Lopez. Something, not Lisa Lopez. I think it might be Lisa Lopez. But anyway, she was in the car waiting, and they was over there playing. Raymond came. Remember, he went to the store to rob. He went to the store to go rob so he can get the money, the $200, $300, so he could play. Dude was like, Raymond, is that you? And he was like, nah, man, it ain't me. He did the little bullshit, so he sold the gun for him for $250. That was what he played with. So once he figured out that Wesley and them had hustled his ass, remember what he said? He said, oh, so you gonna bring this jive ass white hunky motherfucker over here and you gonna hustle? That was a good one, but that's all right. He said, I'm gonna go to my car, get my other gun, shoot everybody ass. That's what bruh talking about right here. That's what bruh talking about right here. Bruh talking about, that's how y'all played me. I don't have a family. My relationship with my mom is fucked up, so I ain't got no relationship with her. I done lost all my based on this case here. You fucked me up. I can't even go back into the service because I was about to expire. So you done took that away from me. You done lie. You took this from me. He said, all right, I ain't got shit to lose. So what is he doing? He picking off motherfucker one by one. Now, am I saying that I'm for that? Again, that's his situation. I'm just reporting. He doing what he feel like he need to do. And sometimes this is the only situation when you push some motherfucking mouse in the corner, right? And you can't run. The motherfucking mouse coming at you, no matter how big your ass is. So, but the problem with this is, this ain't no regular cat. This cat is well trained. That's why in the beginning of this, you heard that came from Deadly Underground. That's one of them isms old boy be always talking about. He's the type of guy that'll drink a gallon of gas just to get in your campfire pissing and blow your ass up. You know what I'm saying? This guy is not he's not the student, he's the teacher. And he done told you in his manifesto, everything your ass doing, everything you gonna try to do, everything that you planning on doing, I already got your shit down packed. There ain't none of that shit you can do that's gonna affect me, but I'm all on your ass. Whoa. That's the wrong motherfucker to fuck with. And guess what? Them motherfuckers scared. Police is asking the people to help us. Ain't that a bitch? Did y'all see that shit? The motherfucking police was on TV. Would y'all help us? Ain't that a bitch? You supposed to be protecting and serving, and now you want the people that a lot of you been fucking over, now you want them to help you now that y'all ass is on the fine line. I'm just saying. You feel what I'm saying? I'm just saying. Not all police are like that, but there's those apples that is out there. You feel what I'm saying? And so, when you just have all this shit, man, when you just got a motherfucker boiling up, and a lot of y'all just think y'all can keep doing that shit and playing people like that, you done ran up on that wrong motherfucker. And this story gonna you just gonna have to continue this story because this story ain't even done yet. Bruh been out there for over 5-6 days now. I think about that. 5-6 days. And then it snowed like a motherfucker to give him some time. Somebody working with him. You feel what I'm saying? So, this is MrBlowsurmind, and this story will be continued. Until next time, you motherfuckers better not keep on fucking with the wrong motherfucker, because instead of you fucking with one motherfucking sleeping giant, you gonna fuck around and wake up a whole motherfucking nation.